Sir, can you hear me all right?
Yes, I can.
My name is Jim Jarrow. We've never met prior to today. I'm going to ask you some questions. The technology appears to be working pretty well, but if for some reason you can't hear me or need me to repeat something, please speak up and I will do that. All right, Deputy. So when you met with Officer Williams in July of 2016, we're talking about a meeting that happened more than 5 years prior to today. Is that correct?
Correct.
And you asked him about the male and female stops, and his response to you, sir, were words to the effect that there was no intent to arrest females more than males. Is that accurate?
I know that statement he made I believe towards the end of our interview, yes.
All right. And in fact, in your memo, states exhibit number 1. Do you have that in front of you, sir?
Yes, I do.
Okay. The very last line, you said, I had no clear resolution of this issue, but wanted him to be aware of the statistics we compiled. Is that what you wrote in your report?
Yes.
Okay. So, Mr. Williams never received any discipline for this, correct?
That would be correct.
And there was no official internal affairs investigation launched based upon your findings. Would that be correct?
Not that I'm aware of for this particular incident.
Did you think that this male-female issue was significant where you should report it to the KBI or CPOST or any agency so there could be an outside investigation launched?
No, what I can say is I didn't maybe fully understand the severity of it, whether it was egregious or not.
Okay. But you knew at the time that if he was engaged in bias-based policing, that would be egregious, wouldn't it?
Yes.
That would be serious, wouldn't it?
Any kind of bias would be serious, yes.
All right. Okay. For each DUI, would there be a report that would be authored for those?
Correct.
Other than just simply looking at numbers, Deputy, did you read those reports and attempt to determine the reason for the stop?
I'm sure some of the reports, maybe as a supervisor, we did review reports generally. Like I said, I worked with him basically every other month. So on those months that I worked with him, myself or Sergeant Lewis would have probably read those, we would have read those DUI reports. But on the months that he was working with another shift, I would probably say I did not read very few of those reports. I wouldn't say never, because I did read some from time to time.
So on the reports that you did read, Deputy, during time as his supervisor, did you ever tell Officer Williams, hey, I'm concerned that you're stopping more women than men, based just upon your reading of the reports before you saw these stats?
Well, I would say over a period of time of, say, reading reports, reviewing videos of those reports, that realization comes to at some point there appears to be more female than male.
That's not my question, Deputy. Did you have a conversation with Officer Williams that you were concerned that he was stopping more females than males as these events were actually occurring and you were reviewing the reports?
6 months prior, no.
When you looked at the statistical numbers, one of the things I thought I heard you say was you looked at department-wide stops for males to females. Is that what you said?
Well, it should be arrests.
Thank you.
Is what I've got it written down as.
Thank you for correcting me. I thought the number you gave was 70-something%. What was that number for males?
71% for males.
You're aware that the county doesn't have a 71% male population, true?
I have no idea what the male population of the county is.
Well, do you know what the percentage split is between males and females there?
I would assume it's very close to being equal.
Do you know, or are you assuming?
Objection calls for speculation.
I'm asking if he knows.
Deputy, if you know, if not,
I mean, I do not know the exact number, no.
okay, thank you.
So this number in the 70% for males, were you suspicious that these other officers were engaged in bias-based policing against males?
No, I was not.
So you didn't rely upon the statistics for the males as to whether or not there was a concern for bias-based policing. Would that be accurate?
I believe that would be accurate, yes.
You gave some testimony, Deputy, about what you could see in the city and what you could see in the county. I'd like to talk to you about that. Now,
Okay.
you look like a man of experience, perhaps someone that is my age, so I'm going to be able to talk to you about some old things, okay?
Okay.
Do you know when headrests were approved by NHTSA, where automobile manufacturers were required to put them in cars in the front seats?
No, I do not.
Would it surprise you to learn that starting, I believe, in January of '69, based upon a NHTSA reg, that they had to start putting headrests in vehicles?
Okay.
Okay. And can we agree that if you're 5, 6, 7 car lengths behind a vehicle and you observe a violation, you can't see through the headrest, right?
I could not see through a headrest, correct.
Okay. So, not being able to see through the headrest, would you be able to tell what the gender of that driver is at night?
At the distance you are telling me, I'm going to say not likely.
Okay. And did you look in the stats that you did, how many stops were initiated because of conduct that was observed at night when Officer Williams was behind the vehicle?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question.
It was kind of long. Let me try to break it out. So, the vast majority of Officer Williams' stops were in the evening, correct?
He would have been working like a straight night shift, correct.
Okay. And did you look to see, in reading reports after you became aware of the suspicion in July of 2016, did you try to determine how many of the OIA, officer-initiated activity, traffic stops he made? Did you look to see where the reasonable suspicion or probable cause was established while Officer Williams was behind the vehicle that he decided to stop?
No, I did not.
Are you familiar with the operation of radar that was in the SO cruisers?
So at that time, yes, I would have been, yes.
Okay. Don't worry, I'm not going to ask any really specific questions. So, with respect to the operation of radar, it works both for oncoming vehicles and for vehicles that you're following. Is that right?
It can, yes.
And for oncoming vehicles, if you have no obstructions, you could get a ping from the radar or a tone if the vehicle is oncoming and 6 to 8 car lengths away. Would that be a fair statement?
Yes, I think so. I think it's an oncoming car and 6 to 8 lengths of car. That's pretty short distance, but yes.
In fact, it can be even farther away than that where you can get a ping, right?
Correct.
So, did you attempt to determine how many of the stops were made by radar as a reason for the stop when you looked at these stats?
I did not.
Okay. And would you agree with the statement that, let's say an oncoming vehicle is 8 car lengths away at night and the radar pings, you are not going to be able to tell the gender of that driver? Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that.
All right. You're also aware that a great many vehicles today come with what is called factory tinted windows. Would that be fair, sir?
I don't know a great deal numbers, but I mean, there are cars that come with that, yes, on usually the rear windows.
Okay, and by rear, you're talking about the back window, and if it's a 4-door, the 2 rear doors. Would that be fair?
Yes.
And then some vehicles, people also like to have custom tint, don't they? Where you can take it into a shop and they'll tint the driver, the left front or the right front window. True?
People do have their windows tinted, yes.
Okay. Did you attempt to determine on what number of vehicles that Officer Williams stopped that either had factory tint or custom tinted windows?
I did not.
Did you ever attempt to make a determination when you looked at these stops to inquire of Officer Williams or to look at the reports as to why he decided to initiate a law enforcement action such as a traffic stop?
Would you maybe repeat that question again?
Sure.
I think I understood it, but I want to
Okay,
make
it
sure.
was kind of long. I'll break it down. It's probably a bad question. I apologize. How many stops did you say you looked at for Officer Williams?
Well, the statistical number was just for 115, basically, arrests.
All right, so of those 115 arrests, did you look at each of them to determine, either by reading the report or by talking to Officer Williams, on a stop-by-stop basis, what his reason was in deciding to initiate an enforcement action?
No.
Did you do that for even one of them?
I'm sure I would have read some of those reports myself
Okay.
when I was just on the shifts and when we were working together.
All right. And when you were reading the reports on the shifts and you were working together, you already testified that just based upon the reading of the reports, you never approached Officer Williams about it, other than what you already testified to. You're watching the video, you were concerned about the number of females. That's the sequence. Would that be fair?
I believe so. It was a very long question, but I believe so.
No further questions. Thank you, Deputy.
Smart.
No redirect.
I have one question. Deputy, can we get clarification on what night shift is? What hours, Mr. Williams?
Night shift is basically 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. and day shift is the 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And he would have worked, I believe, straight nights at that time. That's how I recall it. So which is pretty rare. Most people rotate we rotate every 4 weeks. So he would have stayed on nights.
Thanks, sir.
May I ask an additional question, following up on the commissioner's question?
Proceed.
Deputy, so depending upon the time of year, winter, spring, summer, or fall, if you come on at 7 p.m., it might be light for 1, 2, or 2.5 hours. Would that be fair?
It may be dark from the time you start till you go home during the winter months.
Sure. Summer, out of fairness, there could be some daytime hours. True?
Correct.
So when you did your analysis of these 115 stops, did you do an analysis to determine which ones occurred before sunset and which ones occurred after sunset?
I did not do an analysis, no.
No further questions. Thank you, Deputy.
Any member of the police department who has allowed himself to get out of condition will either get back into condition or be weeded out.